You know, a lot of people are kind of intimidated about making a turkey. To get your hand right up inside it, stuff the shit out of it.
So I saw the most recent Fantastic Beasts movie last night, and full spoilers, by the way, this movie is a bit of a mess.
Rise up.
Directed by David Yates and written once again by J.K. Rowling, this Fantastic Beasts movie is set a few months after the first one and follows the typical characters: Newt Scamander, Queenie, Tina, you know, the characters you love. And we have the introduction, finally, of Albus Dumbledore, played by Jude Law, and Gellert Grindelwald, played by Johnny Depp. And what a interesting mess of a movie. You know, for the sake of the argument, I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan. I didn't grow up with the books. I didn't read them, didn't watch the movies growing up. I was more into the Spider-Mans, Batman Begins, X-Men. I was more into that sort of stuff than the wizarding world of Harry Potter.
She's only interested in you because she thinks you're the chosen one.
But I am the chosen one.
So Fantastic Beasts 1 wasn't really, you know, an insult to me. I liked it. Cursed Child wasn't really an insult to me. It was fine. This movie isn't really an insult to me from a Harry Potter fan's perspective. This is more an insult to me from a movie-making perspective. But before we jump into that, let's talk about some of the positive vibes from this movie. So let's do that. Two of those things were Newt Scamander, played by Eddie Redmayne, and Albus Dumbledore, played by Jude Law. I thought these characters were really good. I really liked Newt in the first film, and I really like Jude Law here. You know, he carried that leadership quality that Dumbledore is meant to possess, and he doesn't come off as like an imitation of Dumbledore, more like a different interpretation of him. Very similar to the James McAvoy Charles Xavier compared to Patrick Stewart's Charles Xavier. Which is funny that I mentioned X-Men prequels, because this movie takes a lot of ties from the X-Men prequels. And I'm gonna sort of touch on that a little later. I think Newt goes through a pretty interesting character development over this movie. He starts to sort of realize that, you know, just because something is the way it is doesn't mean you have to do it. It doesn't mean you have to follow order just because it's order. Albus Dumbledore, he is a very torn character in this movie, and I loved it. When they focused on that, so good. Like, when they really delved into Dumbledore's psychology, you know, why doesn't he want to fight Grindelwald? And that is something that you discover in this movie, and longtime fans of Harry Potter already know this. Dumbledore and Grindelwald had a romantic fling. And so it's very, you know, sad, I think, when Dumbledore is talking about Grindelwald, because you really do feel that he wants to love this person, but this person is evil. When David Yates and J.K. Rowling, when they focus on that, building a bridge between the audience and the actual characters in the movie, does a very good job at that when they do it. Too often or not, they don't.
You and Grindelwald were as close as brothers.
Oh, we were closer than brothers.
Grindelwald, played by woke king Johnny Depp. When I heard that Johnny Depp was going to play Grindelwald, and when I saw Johnny Depp at the end of the first Fantastic Beasts movie, I was like, oh god, no, fuck. I thought he was going to be Johnny Depping the whole thing. And he really doesn't do that. He's very restrained, and he carries a sense of authority whenever he's on screen. You genuinely feel his presence throughout the whole movie, and whether you like Grindelwald's interpretation in this movie or not is going to determine how much you enjoy that sort of presence. And I like what they're doing with the Dumbledore and Grindelwald relationship, as I touched on. I like the way they're really honing in on the Professor X and Magneto sort of thing. I definitely think it fits these characters a lot, and it really adds something to their romance that is mentioned multiple times throughout this movie. I just wish the romance was really shown here, because it would have been very interesting to see come to life. There's a great scene where, it's not really great, it's great in a meme sense, but Grindelwald's whole sort of plight is very, we live in a society. I know it's a meme, and I hate the fact that it's a meme, but every time Grindelwald is on screen and he's, you know, going on about how the muggles and the witches can't live together, you know, we want to live freely, we want to love freely. I just kept thinking, oh my fucking god, it's just we live in a society. He's doing the we live in a society meme. And at one point in the movie, towards the very end, he goes, we need to rise up. And I was like, holy shit. Grindelwald is a fucking gamer.
Rise up.
I don't hate that. I don't hate Grindelwald in this movie at all. I really don't. I think he is really good here. But yeah, Johnny Depp, good. He's good in this movie. Not good in real life, good in this movie.
Rise up.
J.K. Rowling is both this movie's strength and weakness. J.K. Rowling is not a screenwriter. And when you see this movie, you really understand why she is not a screenwriter. There's never any downtime, there's never any time with the characters to actually develop. She really needs a supervisor. She needs someone to tell her, look, JK, we need you to just tone it down a bit. We need you to chop some of this and leave it to the 3 other fucking sequels that you have. This movie wants to tackle everything. It's like when you go to a restaurant and you order the buffet menu and you're like, oh, okay, you know, how much food are we really gonna get? And they bring out the first serve and you're like, oh, fuck yeah. All right, maybe one more serve and then we're done. They bring out the second, you keep eating, you're like, all right, I'm done. And then they bring out 20 other serves and you're like, holy fuck, I'm going to die. So at the end of the movie, we get about 7 reveals, all in the space of 5-10 minutes. So we get Lita Lestrange killed her brother, Lita Lestrange meets her other brother, Queenie joins Grindelwald, Credence joins Grindelwald, Lolita dies. At the very end, Grindelwald tells Credence that he's Dumbledore's brother. One movie that I'm going to compare this to is X-Men First Class, which does a very, very, very similar thing. The end of the movie, Magneto stands and he says, who will join me with a brotherhood of mutants? And, Zoe Kravitz leaves and Jennifer Lawrence leaves, right? 2 things. One major reveal, Jennifer Lawrence leaves. Another reveal, Charles Xavier was shot in the hip and he is now paralyzed. And Magneto leaves him. 3 major reveals. But you know what keeps them all together? The fact that they are all tied directly to Charles Xavier. It's not like Beast was paralyzed and then Mystique leaves and instead of Magneto going evil, it's, Banshee. That movie works and the ending works in First Class because everything is sort of tied directly to one character. In this, Credence isn't really tied to Newt, or Queenie isn't tied to Newt. Lolita is tied to Newt. Kill Lolita. Kill her. That's all you need to do. Or keep her alive and just take Credence off. That's a loss for everyone. When you do all these fucking reveals and all these twists, it feels almost like a parody. Like the movie just kept going and going and all these reveals just kept happening. And I was thinking to myself, this movie needs to end. I'm very frustrated by this movie because it has these incredible ideas. I love the muggles and witches allegories. I love the idea that the witches and the muggles can't marry each other, but that's one of Grindelwald's main sort of things that he's parading. But it's just the execution of all of it just falls flat. I love the Grindelwald and Dumbledore relationship. I think it's one of the movie's finer aspects of it. But the film just doesn't focus on it anywhere near enough. I love the attention to detail this movie goes to with Grindelwald's eyes. One of them is distinctly evil and the other is more human, showing that he is torn. Visually it's a nice little thing that they do, but they don't fucking do anything with it. Grindelwald doesn't actually kill anyone in this movie, which is one of the things that for me as a writer, filmmaker, I say to myself, right, this movie is trying to build this idea that Grindelwald can be turned. He can be saved. He is not 100% evil. And that's why the eyes are not both bad. There is a sense of humanity and good to him. And the fact that Dumbledore and Grindelwald don't meet in this movie is real strange. Real strange. There's a wicked scene where Dumbledore looks into I don't know what the name of it is. It's right in the description. It's the mirror that shows your desires, I think. And Dumbledore looks into it and he sees young Grindelwald and him. And it's a really nice moment. It's one of the film's best scenes because it's so subtle and lovely and you really sort of understand that Dumbledore is torn as well. But the movie doesn't really explore that anywhere near enough. And I've heard the thing that J.K. Rowling wants to explore that in the 3rd and 4th and presumably 5th film. And that's fine. But I don't like the idea of franchises existing for the sole reason that we just get to a certain point when we do the story that we actually want to do. These movies, in my opinion, would be better if they were solely focused on Dumbledore and Grindelwald. This sequel Dumbledore should have been the lead character and Newt should have been a supporting character. Dumbledore is more integral to this movie's plot than Newt. And Newt is still the main character. You know, depending on the sort of person you are, that will basically prove how long you can enjoy this movie. Some people hate it directly after the first scene. I totally understand. Me, I didn't really hate it until like the last 40%. Like the last sort of 45 minutes of this movie, the last 45 minutes was like, yeah, alright, this is now getting a bit too ridiculous for me. I don't really do ratings on this channel, but I will try it for this one. So I give Fantastic Beasts 2 Crimes of Grindelwald a 2.5 out of 5. It's good for most of it, really suffers at the end, and is 1 or 2 drafts away from being a really fantastic movie.
Mr. Scamander!
Do you think Dumbledore will mourn for you?
That's my thoughts on Fantastic Beasts 2. Let me know how you thought in the comments below. One thing I would like to know from Potter fans is, how frustrated were you by the Dumbledore twist? I'm very interested, because for me, I didn't hate it at all, but I saw the movie with my girlfriend and she was a bit mixed on it, so I'm interested to see how you guys were affected by it. So subscribe, like, share the video, up to you guys, and yeah, just remember that Grindelwald is a gamer, and I will see you guys very soon with my Riverdale video. Bye bye.
Rise up.